I have no plans of slowing down right now. A lot of people would be getting towards the end of their 20s and think that their career's coming to an end. But for me, I think I've got so much more left to do. And I'm going to do whatever I can to ensure that I can keep riding as long as possible.
1080 and there it is!
Fix it.
Keep it going, guys! 1080! First time ever in Siargao!
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Siargao Watermen podcast. A couple of notes before we dive into this one. This one's with Liam Peacock. I'll introduce you to him in a bit. It's been a while. It's been since November. We've done 4 episodes, and now we are at the 5th one with a wakeboarder, because it's wakeboard season. And you might be wondering, this is called the Siargao Watermen podcast, but why? Because we invite people that are from the heart or from the source a waterman, and also enjoy all the sports and everything that Siargao has to offer. They can be visiting, they can be residing. So we're going to have a mix of both, I would say. We've had residing residents, we've had locals like Marama, Jerry, and then we've had visitors like David. And now we have another visitor from the UK. So we are going to mix it up with residents and visitors. Now, we also want to have the locals, of course. So there is going to be more focus in the coming weeks or months or episodes on more local residents as well. Filipino nationals that have been here for a long time that we can learn from. What has happened since the last episode? We entered the rainy season. So we've had the surfing competitions with our surfing guests. And then now the rainy season started. It got windy and we have a La Nina season, which means it is more wet. It is more, I wouldn't say more windy. It's just more wet and more unstable weather than what we are used to. And that makes for a bit of chunky surf and a bit of chunky wind. So for the visitors, they might have seen a bit of a different Siargao. And also for the residing guests, the last season have been more dry than these ones. So we did get a bit wet over the last few weeks or months, to say. Anyway, we still have visitors and wakeboard season still started. We always get the Europeans and the Northern Hemisphere wakeboarders pass by around these months. And we've had Liam Peacock. Liam Peacock, our guest of today, is his second time visiting Siargao. He has been to the Philippines many times before because of CWC, let's say the best wake park still, or the biggest wake park in the Philippines. And he visited Siargao last year. He came by, he did our live event together, and now he thought it was so great and wanted to come back to Siargao, all it has to offer. So we're going to dive into that. Who is Liam? Also, he is a double world champion through the WWA. I think it was through the boat category and the cable category. He is also, while he was here, he was named European Rider of the Year by Cable Mecca. So that is a big title to grab as well. And yeah, more about Liam you'll find out in the podcast. I think it's his first podcast outside of his own work that he's done. So it's great to dive in with it. We also did our first public winching event, which was in Cloud9, a very iconic place to do so. And we did it together with the Belgians, with Tina, with the French. Jules was here. So we'll touch on that event as well. And furthermore, we'll talk about the wakeboarding scene in the UK. We'll talk about how it is to be with his brother in the scene, how his camps and his pro wakeboarding career are going in his stage of life, his injuries he's dealing with because he has been injured as well during his stay. And then, overall the season, we talk about competition, social media, sponsorships, and of course more about Siargao, how life is here and what he likes about it. So these are all great things you can expect from this talk with Liam. Enjoy.
Yeah, good to go. Are we rolling on here?
Yeah, we're running there.
Sick.
That's recording. The mics are doing okay. So yeah.
Perfect.
Welcome, Liam.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, you must be feeling familiar with this beautiful morning in Siargao. How's it like? What's happening?
I mean, out here, I really can't complain. We've had a little bit of rain, reminding me of home, of course, but I think I've been saying consistently that even when it's raining, it's still way more fun than England. The bad weather's not really stopped the fun so far. So no complaints from my side.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we had a bit of rain this morning and the days before, but yeah, it's what it is. It's sunshine, it's raining on and off. And it's still warm. It's still
Exactly.
like 30 degrees. Yeah. But so it's your second visit. You were here last year.
Yeah.
You came back this year. Let us know, how's it been for you to come back for a second time and visit Siargao?
So I think for me, like, I've spent a lot of time in the Philippines pretty much since I started traveling around the time I was 15. But I think this year really has been the year where I realized how much fun it is here. We've been surfing, wakeboarding, you can kiteboard, skateboard, gym, everything. So it's really just kind of reminded me how much fun there is to have here. And all of my activities that I like to do are encompassed into one island with friendly people, awesome nights out, and great food. So to me, it's kind of the idea of paradise.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so I realize now you've been to the Philippines before coming to Siargao, since you were 15. So that's, how many visits have you made?
I would say I've probably come between maybe like 8 and 10 times. So
okay.
Yeah, first time I was 15, flew out and met my brother at CWC.
Yeah.
And that was when my eyes were open to the world of sort of the Southeast Asia side of the world and, traveling, the fun that can be had here. And
so you would say CWC was your first trip in Asia to be out away from winter and seeing how the other side of the world can be.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I think, when I sort of coach 15-year-olds now, I look at my mum and she always says, like, were we crazy sending you out at such a young age? But it was the trip of a lifetime. We were away for a month and I was with Joe Battleday, my brother, and a few other friends. And it was the best.
Yeah. All the time in CWC?
That first trip, I think we did about a month at CWC. I was still at school, so it was quite hard to go away for too long. But that really opened my eyes to what is possible out here.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. We'll touch on CWC again a bit later. I want to talk about the UK first. The wakeboarding scene there, how it is, how it developed, what parks you have there, history, athletes, just a bit of an impression on where you're coming from and what wakeboarding is there.
Yeah, so we grew up riding at a place called JB Ski. There was about, I'd say probably 10 to 12 of us Groms riding there. And you had the likes of Joe Battleday, Matt Muncie, Joe's older brother Jack, and then it was me and Ryan riding, and a couple other people. And really just like we all grew up kind of bantering with each other, a little bit of like peer pressure to try new tricks. And that just really like excelled the group's progression. And then, moving forward, I would say that there's probably about 4 or 5 of us from that group now that have made it kind of fully professional in the sport. Another one was also Kieran Owens, who is now competing at a very high level too. So we just had this big group of riders all pushing each other. And that really just, sort of took everyone's riding to the best that it could be.
Yeah. What I know from the UK is always liquid leisure. That's always like the park everybody talks about. And then there's plastic playground.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say on that? How that went? Or
so as we sort of progressed out of Thorpe, it was a bit more of a kind of beginner to intermediate park with the rails that they had. We then moved on to liquid leisure, which was also very close to where we live. And again, when we got to liquid, the progression just doubled again. Everyone was riding on more technical rails. Each year that plastic playgrounds would happen, you'd have all of the best pros come in, and it was this massive inspiration for us. And we would see them ride, we would ride with them a little bit. And then, again, each year on year, the progression just came faster and faster. Yeah. And I think if you ride at Liquid Leisure now, you have some of the best riders riding there on a cable that isn't actually super high. So it's very technical to ride there.
Okay. That I didn't know. So you would say Liquid Leisure is a lower cable than standard?
Yeah, I would say anyone that comes over to ride there to compete, it's going to be a pretty big change to where you ride from if you're on one of the newer cables. So I think that is what made everyone so good that was riding there, is that the low cable made kicker landings, you had to be perfect. The rail to rails were really quite challenging because you didn't have that much support from the cable. It was all just how you sort of had your board control.
Okay, interesting. Did you see then Liquid Leisure develop from like not so much plastic to a lot of plastic?
I think, when we first started riding there, it was definitely more basic features. You had a couple kickers, like a small fun box. And then it was this phase where Unit was coming more and more into wakeboarding, and they were creating new rails that had never been seen before. And then before you know it, they had the pool gap, then they had the mega pool gap, which was just this huge thing. And they've got rail to rails and all sorts of things that you'd never seen before. So you would arrive there and you'd be trying to figure out all these new rails. And it was such a fun time of riding.
To me, I remember when they started making those pools, I was like, that's level up.
Yeah.
That's like huge and it's bi-level and it's like, what's happening, you know?
Yeah.
To me, that was like the transition in like going from standard stuff to like more, I don't know, intense or just technical or...
Yeah, I think one of my first experiences at Liquid was coming towards a pipe rail and just thinking like, I've never hit something circular before. I had no idea what to expect or how it was going to feel. And from then onwards, just to see where the sport has gone, it's crazy. And I think Unit played a massive part in that. So quite a big thanks to them from the sport, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. We had David also on the podcast a few months ago. So he visited and it was great. It was great to have him here. How would you say then that the sport progressed? Because we went from cable riding or boat riding to kickers to rails. And then after that, what actually happened? What was like always the new thing or like?
I think a big step up was when you started having the rail to rails come in, and all of a sudden the pool gaps are created, but people aren't just riding out of them. They're now jumping from one rail to the other. And it was just this technical level of riding where you would show up to somewhere like Wake Jewel, and if your park didn't have a rail to practice on, then you're at a huge disadvantage, because you could find yourself doing like 4 or 5 rail to rails in one run. So it was really this new level of riding where you had to be on your A game and you had to be practicing these technical rail hits to stand a chance in the competitions.
Yeah. The rail to rails, I remember that as well. Anything else that is like typically that came in as features?
I would say landing ramps. So you have the Claudia, which for me is one of my favorite rails. I really enjoy that landing ramp style. Obviously,
could you describe the Claudia? I don't see it in front of me.
So the Claudia is it has like a smallish kicker, and then it goes up like with a flat top section, then it rolls down into a bit of a lander.
Okay.
To me, that's one of the most fun rails, but then you can take it to the absolute extreme, which was Munich Mash, where they had a double XL kicker with a huge landing ramp. And that was probably around 2017, 2018, they were doing that. And to me, that was probably the most fun feature that I've ever had the experience of riding.
Yeah. Yeah. So we go from kickers to rails to rail to rails to landing ramps. What's next?
To me, I think my idea of the next step should be bigger kickers. And many people in wakeboarding would probably disagree, because when it comes down to how it feels on your body, it can be pretty painful. But I look to sports like snowboarding, where these world's firsts are being created and they're really leveling up their riding. And it's because they're doing it on bigger ramps, and their kickers are massive. And I think that we shouldn't shy away from landing ramps, and we definitely shouldn't shy away from bigger kickers, because right now, to me, it feels like the sport is halted on the size of the kickers. And it might be scary, but we should make them bigger, and we should expand into this area.
I think we all agree it fits your riding style to go bigger.
Definitely. I'm a big fan of the kickers. I always have been. And even as I get potentially slightly older in the sport, I still want to be sending the kickers.
Yeah, that's exciting. Okay, so let's see. The next step in features is like not XL kickers, but like Liam kickers.
Yeah, I've been going on to David about it for a while now. He's probably sick of hearing it, but I rock up to Munich Mash each year. I'm like, David, let's put the kickers on the high level of the bi-level, and we'll jump downwards so we get more airtime.
Yeah.
And he normally just looks at me and laughs and tells me I'm crazy.
So instead of doubles, we start doing triples.
Exactly.
Or maybe quadruples as well.
Exactly. I think
triple has been done or not?
Triple's been landed. Yeah. I believe Cody Hess was the only person to land it. Mm-hmm. And that's one that I've been pushing for a while. It does take its toll on your body when you're trying to do it. But to me, that's where my passion lies, is in the kickers and putting my mark on the sport where I can.
Yeah. we can transition into that because you just said like it takes a toll on your body. We can agree, wakeboarding takes its toll.
Yeah.
You're injured now as well.
Yeah.
What happened? What went wrong?
So I'm currently rocking a couple small injuries. So I had a small little break on the bottom of my fibula. That was a silly snowboarding mistake a few weeks ago now, but nearly recovered from that one. And then I sort of have some problems with my knees occasionally. I snapped the ligament in my right knee quite a few years ago now. So for me, it's just about staying on top of like the gym work and trying to make sure that I'm training enough to keep my legs as strong as they need to be.
Yeah.
And I think, moving into 2025, I'm feeling extremely motivated for this year. And I really want to get on top of that so that I can keep pushing into the later years of my career.
Yeah. Okay. So you have this snowboarding injury, which is now holding you back. And then there's this knee injury, which is from wakeboarding.
Yeah.
Was there any other injuries that you had through wakeboarding?
So a pretty big one that I had was I fractured 3 of the bones like in my spine here. So where your spine comes down, you have these small bones that come off the side of it. And I fractured 3 of them on the pool gap at Liquid Leisure.
Wow.
So that was a pretty bad one, actually.
You landed on the rail, or?
I was trying to do like this gap on it, and I landed on one of the add-ons on the side. Then I slipped out, and my back hit into the safety of the down rail. So, that was one of the worst ones. But weirdly, a lot of my worst injuries have been doing things other than wakeboarding. So I think actually wakeboarding is maybe where I'm safest, and it's when I try and expand my skills into other areas that it goes wrong.
I guess you know what you're doing in wakeboarding. And if there's a different sport, you have to take it on a bit easier level than wakeboarding. And that's maybe where it goes wrong.
Exactly. I have a bit of a sort of fearless nature. And I think sometimes if I carry that into other sports, it can backfire on me. But I enjoy living that way. It's fun.
Yeah. Well, we've had you here being injured. You seem to doing pretty well, I would say. So you've talked about the physical, how to make sure you stay fit. Mentally, you do something? Like if you're injured, how do you cope with it? Like, I can't ride. I'm watching my friends ride. Like what goes through your mind?
To me, I think like it was always going to be a challenge coming out here with a bit of an injury and not being able to do all the activities that I'm used to. But I think I find enjoyment in just immersing myself in it anyway. So we're watching the boys ride. It's fun to be there. It's fun to support them. And the moment I have an injury, my number one priority is how can I get back to what I love doing as quick as possible. And it's not really a moment where I sit back and I lay there thinking, what am I going to do with my life? It's like, cool, it's a part of it. Let's figure out how we can get back as quick as possible and ideally stronger than I was before. So you can't really have a defeatist mindset if it's your passion and it's something that you want to get back to doing.
Yeah. Stronger and more experienced afterwards. Yeah. That's what we saw. You were still there on every session coaching, and that's what you do greatly also. You're such a great person to have around. You're always helping out, coaching, and like being a great ambassador for the sport. So yeah, that's something that made you also, I would say, European Rider of the Year. And it's all about, of course, being a professional, but also just how you are as a person around the scene. So
I appreciate that. I think it's something that my brother and I are quite passionate about as well is, I say giving back to the sport, but it doesn't feel like you're giving back. It's just fun, seeing people progress and being a part of that progression is always something that we've both enjoyed. So yeah, I mean, I'll always keep doing that, and I want to do that as long as possible, really.
Yeah. And then physically, you came here, and I remember on the first day, you said, I'm going to the gym. And then I think you found CrossFit Siargao, and you've been there every day, or?
Yeah, we've pretty much tried to be there as much as possible. I met some of the trainers there, and I remember I walked in, I had this big boot around my leg, my ankle area, and I saw all these guys in there working out, and I'd been sort of 4 weeks off of any kind of sport. And let alone it being winter time in England. So I was pretty out of shape, and I was like, okay, this is where I need to be. And the guys there were really, really nice. They sort of looked after my ankle. They made sure that I could still get some good workouts in, but didn't sort of damage that area. So for me, it was, yeah, really fun experience and definitely something that I'll be continuing even after I leave the island.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's great you found that gym, and we have so many other gyms as well here. This place is full of like the healthy coaches and like making sure people stay fit and then support your other activities, being it wakeboarding or surfing or so. Yeah,
exactly. That's the thing that I love here. There's so many activities, and it really feels like a healthier way of life.
Yeah. Is there anything you do supplement wise for prevention, or like do you look after your food, or is there a daily vitamins or collagen or anything that you take? Or
I've always tried to sort of eat pretty healthy, so I focus a lot on like my protein. If I'm in the gym, I want to make sure that my muscles are repairing and I'm not feeling weak. Something that I've been taking recently since doing this small break in my fibula was kind of like these calcium supplements that are supposed to help it's like a bone regeneration thing. I just found it on Amazon. I read into it a little bit, and I mean, for me, it's like even if it's a 1% improvement, if it gets me back a day earlier than not taking it, I think it's worth it. So there's nothing in particular that I'm always sort of taking at any one moment, but those little improvements add up, and I don't want to waste any extra time than I need to.
How old are you now?
I'm 25.
25. Okay.
Yeah.
From my experience, it took me until I was 32, 33 to really start thinking about nutrition and supplements and all that. When you're younger, you're like, my body's fine. It's working. Like I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
But then once you age a bit, you'll feel like, okay, I got to support my blood, whatever, like do a bit of checkups and then see what helps, you know? So
I think the main example of that really is, especially with wakeboarding being so high impact, the difference I feel at 25 compared to like 15 or 16 is a huge difference. And I used to be able to ride hours and hours, never ache. And I mean, you only have to look to like surfing and skateboarding now, and you see that people are behaving more like athletes. They're looking out for these things. They're looking after their body more. And I have no plans of slowing down right now. A lot of people would be getting towards the end of their 20s and think that their career's coming to an end. But for me, I think I've got so much more left to do. And I'm going to do whatever I can to ensure that I can keep riding as long as possible.
That's great to hear. I remember you came in last year, straight from the plane to the park, and you just destroyed it. And everybody was like, whoa. And it's like, yeah, he always does that. That's just Liam coming in and like, so it was different to see you come in this time and like, okay, no riding, easy going. So I hope next time when you come in, it's to get like straight into the park. And I'm
going to have unfinished business after this year, that's for sure. But I think to me, it's like the highest level of torture is to just sit there and be at this amazing place and not be able to ride. But I think a younger Liam would have gone out there and just done something silly to just prove a point or keep riding. And now I've got a bit older. It's like, okay, we've got bigger goals than just this one moment of fun, you know? So 2025 to me feels like an important year. And, I know it's not going to be my last time here. I'll be back as soon as possible. And,
I remember when we haven't talked about it, when we were winching in Cloud 9 and you announced like, I'll probably ride. And then you came up that morning. I was like, I'm not going to ride. I'm feeling my body, my foot says I cannot. I was like, that's mature. Okay. That's good. How has it been to see us ride this iconic place and not being able to join in?
It's been, again, it's been amazing to be a part of it and to help the guys and even just experience the whole thing. But it's also like so many times I just sit there. I'm like, damn, I wish I could be riding. But in a way, I'm thankful that this happened over the winter and I have the chance to have the full season ahead. But it's just a case of reminding myself that it's not going to be my last time here. I'm sure we're going to have many more epic moments on this island in the future. But yeah, trying to think with my mature head now and think about what's really important.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, let's bring it back a bit to your brotherhood and Ryan, because you guys are in the scene together. You're both professional wakeboarders. How is that to have someone there that you've had there all your life and also be at the same level and the same scene, basically?
I think it's amazing, really. Like without Ryan, I don't think I would have been able to do half the things that I've done. And I remember when we were kids, my dad sort of said, you guys should do this as the Peacock brothers. So when we were kids, we were like, yeah, whatever, Dad, like we're sort of just doing it kind of thing. And then I remember he brought like the Peacock brothers.co.uk domain like years ago. And he was like, you guys will need it one day. And, just having Ryan by my side there has just been so much fun. There's always someone to film with. There's always someone to discuss ideas with. And, now sort of moving into our coaching business together, it's helped everything. Like we kind of bounce off each other. We're very much like, I think, sort of still kids in our minds. So we try and just keep a hold of that childish energy and bring it into everything that we're doing. And I think because we have that same mindset, it allows us to succeed in many of these sort of things that we have a passion for. So yeah, I think the biggest thanks probably goes to Ryan for everything that we've done so far.
Who's older?
Ryan's 2 years older than me, but as we've grown up, people tend to think that I'm the older one.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know why, but I always say it's because I'm more mature, but I don't think many people would agree with that.
Would you say you're more mature?
I don't think so. No, I think he's actually the mature one. He's a bit more grown up now, and
I remember Ryan making this documentary about mental health.
Yeah,
that's, I mean, one of the most mature things you can do. Basically, opening up about that. Anything you want to share on that?
Or I think that sort of, Ryan was kind of out in Cape Town at that time. And, I think he's had a few sort of struggles in the past with his mental health. And it was not really something that I'd experienced super badly. But I remember around my 24th birthday, just sort of feeling pretty down. We were away coaching somewhere. And, I think I was just super worn out from everything that was happening. And it was nice to have him there because I could sort of say to him, I'm feeling like this. And, he could just instantly relate. He gave me some great advice. And, that connection there is priceless. And I think the documentary that those guys did is probably one of the first in the world sort of highlighting the effects that mental health can have, especially on people in extreme sports. And I think extreme sports athletes are pretty extreme in everything they do in life. And sometimes that can even come with the lows, I would say.
I think we all at some point have a low. And then it was great to see it coming from someone you can relate to.
Yeah.
Being it a wakeboarder or a surfer or a kite surfer, anything with the water. So I saw the documentary come out and I was like, that's great. And then it was together with the kite surfer.
Yeah, Graham was doing it as well. Yeah.
So I'll put the link in the description of this podcast. I think it's something that everybody should see. And the awareness towards it, let's talk about it. If you don't feel great, say something like, open up,
Definitely.
So thanks to Ryan for doing that. It was great. Yeah. Who started wakeboarding first, or was it like together at the same time?
So it's quite an interesting story. My granddad had a boat, and so my mum's side of the family, they all sort of were involved with water sports. And then Ryan kind of tried it first when he was quite young. I think he was like 6 or 7. And then I had my first taste of it when I was like, I think 5, but theoretically, because Ryan's a bit older, he'd tried it first. And then I think he ended up doing it for about a year. And I really didn't like it at that age. I always told my mum I would try it later, and I sort of pushed it back. And then Ryan kind of stopped wakeboarding. And then my mum sort of explains it that one day I just decided, I was like, okay, I want to wakeboard. And I was around about 8 at that time. So me and Ryan both went, and we both started at Thorpe Lakes, or JB Ski at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was when we really just got into the kids club, the development squad, and then we were just riding loads and loads. And so that was kind of when we both started together in that moment.
Okay, that cable park is still there?
It's still there, yeah. It's called Thorpe Lakes now, and it's about 10 or 15 minutes from Liquid Leisure. It's a little bit more of a sort of intermediate park, but you can still have a lot of fun there.
Yeah. Would you say you guys progressed together to the same level? Or was someone better and then it transitioned? And
I would say that we were pretty equal most of the way through. It was something that was quite fun, because if one of us tried a trick, the other one would try it. And I took joy in being the younger brother. So if I did it, he kind of had to try because he was the older one. So it wasn't a case of like, who's going to try a double flip first? It's like, I'm going to go do it because then I get to watch you do it. And we both we didn't really care about crashing or big crashes. It was just go out there and try it until you could do it. And I would say we sort of we traveled along at this pretty equal sort of improvement. And then I think Ryan sort of got to a point where he didn't enjoy competing quite as much. And to me, competing was one of my main driving forces to improve. And I think I kind of got invited to the first Munich Mash, and then I was just getting invited to more and more comps. And Ryan took more of a progression towards videoing and actually slightly more behind the scenes, I would say. But then he sort of refound his passion with it all. And it was a point where his riding was just so crazy with like the switch and the technical stuff that he does. Like he'll go and do something that I can't even comprehend trying because I would just get completely smashed. But yeah, I also think his path was sort of, he had a lot of pretty unfortunate injuries as well. So he pretty much destroyed his knee at one point, which put him out of the sport for about 13 months. And he's had shoulder problems. But I would say now he's, back sort of better than ever. And he's got more passion for it than ever before.
You touched on it, but how are your riding styles different? How would you describe that?
So my riding style is, I like going big. I like hitting the kickers. That's the things I like to do, kind of like the double flips and stuff. Ryan is just this rider that he can ride switch, he can do technical stuff, he can do things that nobody else is doing or even thinking about. And you could be fooled to watch Ryan and sometimes think that it might be easy because he'll make something look effortless when actually, if you were to consider trying it, you would just, get completely worked. And I think I take a lot of inspiration from his riding when I'm trying to level up my rail game or my switch stuff.
He hasn't been to Siargao yet. Has he been to the Philippines? Of course.
Yeah, he's been to the Philippines, but he's never been down to Siargao yet. He usually spends his winters in Cape Town.
Yeah.
So he'll do sort of 6 months in England and 6 months there. But we might be going out to CWC for the Hyperlight shoot at some point.
Okay.
So
when is that?
That will be around about April time. So if that does happen, then I might see if we can fly over here for a week or so. And
that'd be awesome.
Worst case scenario, I'm going to try and get him here next winter when we're back.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. You touched on competition. You said you wanted to compete. Would you know why that is? Why do you have that drive to compete?
I think I've always been a competitive person. Like, it's just something ingrained in me. I always joke, like if I was walking down the street, I could end up trying to get to the end before the guy next to me, just because that is, I don't know why, I'm just wired like that. And it's something that I've found drives me forward. Is I think I could take it back to an experience. I think it was the Nationals once at Liquid Leisure, and I crashed out, and I just remember beating myself up, feeling so like sorry for myself. And then I was sat there as the podiums were going on, everyone was leaving. And I remember thinking to myself, like, are you just going to sit here and feel pity for yourself? Or are you going to go out there and just ride so much that you never have to feel like this? And so every time I wanted to come off the lake early, or I didn't want to try a scary trick, I would just remember that feeling that I had like bottled up inside me, and I would go and ride longer. I would try more tricks. I would just...
The reason you were in that position is because you didn't perform your best, or because you weren't good enough yet?
I think because I didn't perform my best, and I guess that does go hand in hand with maybe not being good enough, but I had the tricks, but I didn't have everything that came with it. I didn't have the experience, which I didn't realize until later on in my wakeboarding career, how much that experience would influence my results. I thought it was just, I really did when I was younger think it was just go out and do the craziest tricks, and that would lead me to crash out in like the semi-finals or something, because I was this crowd pleaser. I wanted to go out and gap the pool gap at 48 in the semi-finals, when really that would have been the super final run. And I never understood that, and I would always let that feeling of wanting to show off my best tricks get in the way of actually my results.
I think there's two ways of looking at that. You can do your best performance like you said, to please a crowd and get that external validation, or just do it because you know it's new and innovative and you just want to push the sport forward?
Yeah.
Which one is more important?
I think that young Liam would answer that the crowd validation is the right answer, because I would work on all these tricks and sometimes I didn't even care where I finished. I just wanted to be the guy that was at the after party and everyone was saying like, that was the sickest trick or that was the craziest moment. And now as an older Liam, I think there's a middle ground. I think it's cool to be the people's favorite no matter what, because sometimes you'll ride amazingly and the results just don't reflect that for whatever reason. But now I like to play it a little bit smarter. I've learned from my mistakes and my failures that, hold on to those surprise tricks until the final moments. And that's when you can have these crazy moments where you land this dream trick in the final and the crowd erupts. And that's, to me, is like, that's what competition is all about, is those moments where it all works out.
Yeah. I love when you said the young Liam would say this and then the mature Liam, because that comes with age, when you step away from that external validation and just more start doing stuff because you believe it's great.
Yeah.
So
definitely. And I think it goes hand in hand with pushing the sport in the direction you want it to go. So you've got to sometimes take the risk and try these new things that you maybe don't even know if it will pay off.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about camps for a bit and professional wakeboarding. How do you combine being a professional wakeboarder and then still coach? And I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand, I guess, but how does it go for you? Like,
I think it's a balancing act that me and Ryan try and do every single year. And every year we sort of start the season and we go, okay, this will be a bit of a quieter season. And then before you know it, you look at the calendar and it's just, there's no free weekends at all. So I think as a professional wakeboarder, I'm someone that enjoys every element of it. So I like competing, I like coaching, I like filming videos. So I just try and make sure I get sort of a nice amount of all of it. And there's not really any pressure from sponsors to be doing any one thing. So we try and coach as much as possible. We have somewhere between, I would say, like 10 and 15 camps a year. So a lot of time is filled up with that. But then you also want to be pushing your riding ready for the comps. We're always filming our YouTube. So trying to do as many YouTube videos as possible and also working on a full part as well at the same time. So there's a lot of things going on. You have to balance it equally because you also need all of these little income streams coming in to keep doing what you're doing. And
what would say is your top 3 things that keep you busy? Of course, performing competition. And then what's most important after that?
Camps is definitely one of the busiest things. And then I would say probably just sort of, I guess, like riding, trying to improve, because it's something that would be very easy to get lost with everything else that's going on. But that's the one thing that I always want to keep high on the list, because it's maybe not the thing that you earn money straight out of, but it's the thing that's going to keep everything alive. So,
but you mentioned YouTube and social media as well.
Yeah.
It takes a good chunk of your time as well.
Yeah.
So.
YouTube is also definitely up there. I think editing, filming, that is the thing that you'll put the most time into and get the littlest amount of financial reward, but actually is probably the thing that also contributes to the success of everything, because you can rock up to a park anywhere in the world and people will recognize you because they've searched wakeboarding on YouTube and maybe one of your videos has popped up, but you can quite easily edit a video for 10 hours and you will maybe make $100 at the end of the month between me and Ryan. So
about YouTube, who would be the top 5 wakeboarding YouTubers? I think I have to say JB O'Neill is probably number 1.
Yeah.
And then after that,
I would say JB's up there. David O'Keefe is also one of the sort of godfathers of the YouTube world. Then right now, I'd like to say that me and Ryan fit nicely into the 3rd position.
Okay.
But JB, watch out, we're coming for you. And then I would say you also have Victor. He does some maybe slightly more controversial videos with partying and stuff, but he's also quite a character, and it's funny to watch his videos.
Salman.
Yeah.
Belgian guy as well.
Yeah. And then I think now I would say Jules and Cam are doing quite a lot on the YouTube front. But again, it's quite a quiet scene, and a lot of the sort of core riders don't really want to be doing vlogs and stuff. I guess Dominic Gers also is up there too. He does some great ones as well.
I see him most on social media for some reason. Yeah, but I mean Instagram. Yeah, so I have to check out his YouTube.
Yeah, he has some good ones. Whenever Dominic's filming, we always have a laugh, and he features in quite a lot of our videos too.
Yeah, we talked about JB O'Neill. I watched Raph Trinidad's podcast, the Grab Matters one.
Yeah,
and he threw a question in there. He asked Raph, "What is a Tabo?" Do you know what it is?
Nah.
Man, okay, so you've been to the Philippines so many times.
Yeah.
You have to look it up and check.
A Tabo?
A Tabo. We're not going to talk about it.
Okay.
Everybody who's listening just has to go to that podcast and check it out.
Okay.
It's pretty funny.
I'll have a look after.
Yeah. Anyway. Where are we? Okay. Still about camps and pro wakeboarding, because we touched on that. And then I asked you, like, is there like an app or something where you can just like learn all the tricks and all that? And then you said that you had this ebook and you shared it with me.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. I think that's something the sport now really needs, is like a guide for beginners with an app. Like, and is that something, I mean, you have the website already.
Yeah.
What is the idea there? Are you still developing that, or?
So we have our Road to Pro online website at the moment, and we're actually in the process of building kind of an app that would be based around this, but it's going to be kind of Road to Pro, but then another level up. So we'll be posting about it probably over 2025. We're still in the works with it, so I can't really say too much about what it's going to be, but I think it will be a big stepping stone for cable wakeboarding, and it's going to open up kind of coaching to many more people. And I think that's what the sport needs right now. You need a pathway that you can follow. Yeah. It's very easy to slip into bad habits, and you see a lot of people come into the camps and they're at a certain level, but they're kind of doing many things wrong. So I think that this will be, a great stepping stone into where we need to go.
Yeah. Because I think there's many coaching styles. There's many riding styles. So many different aspects on how to look at a trick.
Yeah.
So having a guideline somehow is good to have, I would say.
Definitely. Yeah. I think that's important in progress, and it's going to save injuries, save sort of having to step back when you get to a certain level and relearn the basics again.
Yeah. This being something that you can probably use as a post-career thing still, are you thinking about, okay, I have so many more years of wakeboarding in me, what am I going to do after? Is this something that as a 25-year-old pro is already on your mind, or not yet?
It was something probably about 3 or 4 years ago would really sort of play on my mind a little bit. I was very much enjoying living in the moment and not worrying about the future, but it always sort of loomed in the back of my mind, what am I going to do after riding? But I think now that the coaching has come around and we have our camps, to me, that is something that can extend long after my sort of competing career.
The peak of your...
Exactly. Yeah. And then, I think Ryan and I are always working on new ideas and new little things. So we're looking to launch our clothing brand soon. So we'll have some small bits coming out of that. And we sort of have just so many ideas, and it's about now making sure that we funnel the right ones and work on them.
That's great. I think wakeboarding is also a sport where you competitively can go into categories, being at the masters and then still. Is that something you think on doing? Like when you hit 30 or 35 and 40, like still compete in those divisions?
For sure. I think Nick Davies to me has always been a massive inspiration, especially when I was younger, but seeing him now really get back into his riding, taking it quite serious, and I think he's got back into a good shape now, and he's been competing in the Masters, and I think he put a post up the other day saying that he wants to try and do world championships in every category. So even moving on to veterans. And I think the thought of where that Masters category could be in a few years to come would be very exciting. And I definitely would love to be competing in vets and still busting out some double flips or something.
Yeah, because that's basically how it goes. No, the peak is in the open men, and then the Masters. The level is still there, but it's kind of more old school and goes down.
Yeah,
I think we might see like the level there also just being pushed a lot.
For sure. Yeah, I think for me right now, I'm very much not listening to anyone that tells me when my career is coming towards an end. I think I personally believe that I still have yet to hit my peak. I've been doing tricks that I've never done before, even a few months ago. So I have no plans of slowing down really, and definitely 30 will not be the end of my career for sure.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Let's talk a bit about the two organizations that we have. You've got the IWWF and the WWA. You've been world champ in both of them? Or
not in the IWWF.
Yeah.
So the IWWF, we moved away from probably around about junior men age. It was when I was getting invited to more of the international competitions, like the Red Bull ones and things like Munich Mash. And I was earning money when I was going there, and some of them, you can have your flights paid for, you can have accommodation and earn money out of it. And to me, it just didn't make sense to continue going to these competitions that I was paying for and wasn't seeing any sort of money coming back in from it.
Yeah.
So that was when we moved away, and then WWA kind of took over.
Yeah, because that's kind of a big conversation always. Like, why is there two organizations doing big competitions, and what's the big difference? So what I'm hearing now is that there's just more money involved back to the rider through the WWA.
Yeah. I would say, WWA is quite a high cost of entry still. You have to pay quite a lot to get there and to ride in it. But you're going to get paid down to a much lower position, so you'll be able to recoup some of that cost back. Whereas IWWF, if you win, you get no money, and if you lose, you get no money. But
and you have that certain degree of ranking.
Yeah, and I would say some countries, they do earn some money from their federations and stuff. And I wouldn't want to sort of talk down on IWWF, because I think there is a place for them in the sport. And I think that we need to have that body here. But I think my personal sort of experience, they could maybe try and move with the times a little bit more. And I think maybe now they are offering some money in some events, but it would definitely be nice to see more money going back to the riders.
Yeah, exactly. I think also, it's the international body that can go Olympic as well. I think wakeboarding has been Olympic or not. Can you remind me?
It hasn't. I think it's been sort of shortlisted before, but I'm not sure on the full ins and outs of it. But some people say it's because it's like the cable is motorized, so we maybe won't be able to get in. But I'm not sure on the full ins and outs. But
okay, because that might be a stepping stone when that happens, and then the IWWF will have more power to put in some more prize money, or
definitely,
without saying what they have to do. But this is the feedback I get. If there would just be more prize money, there'll be more bigger riders still there as well.
I think it's kind of the thing that sort of spurred me and Ryan to create our own events. Is we were going to some of these events, and we were even trying to team up to create things with sort of certain people. And when it didn't work out, or there was too many times that the rule book was held up at us, and we were like, look, this is a sport that you don't need to necessarily follow all the rules. Like, let's have fun again. Let's create an event where it's fresh, it's new, it's exciting. And I think that same format played out over and over can sometimes get a little bit boring.
About fresh formats, I think Red Bull or like a FEES are the ones that always have been progressive in that. Interestingly, it's always been with 2.0s, I think. Or then, except for the 313 where it's on a full size.
Yeah.
What do you think? Where's the sport going there? And like excitement and like new things and competitively?
I think the thing with the system too is you can put it up anywhere within a matter of days. And that's something that is not so accessible with the full cable. Some of these events, I've said many times, sort of Munich Mash and places like that are really unique. And it's those experiences that as a rider, if you get invited there, it's a big privilege. I always remember there was a competition in Hamburg called Red Bull Wake Capital, and that was just crazy. It was like big system too. You drop in from pools into barges, and there's containers. And
I remember.
To me, that competition will always stand out as one of the best I ever rode in.
It fits your style as well.
Yeah,
which is go big, go gnarly.
Definitely, that was amazing. But I think people like Langenfeld and again, plastic playgrounds, competitions like that, where they're hacking their park, they're making these unique features that you've never seen before. That is really kind of giving back to the sport in itself, and it creates something new. And those guys put a lot of time and a lot of money into creating those. And I think as a rider, we always appreciate having the opportunity to ride those setups.
Yeah. All these competitions that you mentioned, they're all just kind of on their own or in a format, but then there's another format. Don't you think it's a bit sad that they just couldn't be all come together and decide like this is the world champ or this is the highest, biggest wakeboarder? Or
I think that's the sort of hardest thing with, I guess, like the extreme sports and stuff, is that there is so many individual sponsored events. And yeah, I mean,
how would you see them all come together? And is it possible?
That's the thing. I don't know whether you could ever see them all coming together, and I don't know how that event would look. But
I think it's just there's too many. The sport is still developing, and everybody wants to have their idea on how it should look.
Yeah,
and everybody has and then everybody puts that event out.
Yeah,
and there hasn't been like a consensus like this is how it should be.
Yeah,
it's still changing too much. Maybe in the future it will develop to a certain format where everybody agrees like, okay, this is what we're looking at. This is what we want to do. And then it might come together.
I think I definitely agree with you on that one. And my idea, I guess, or the thing that I do quite like at the moment is that you can go and you can explore all these different formats. And, Langenfeld Open has one format. You go to plastic playgrounds, it can be a different format. And so it does keep it fresh. It does keep it quite exciting. And quite often you can play to the format. So, if you're going to Wake Duel, that actually you only have to win a certain section rather than the whole thing. So a different format can suit different riders. So
I think that's Langenfeld is like that and the Wake Duel as well. No? So you see those two already going to that format.
Yeah.
What do you think is the greatest format?
I don't know if there's necessarily one greatest format. I think that, the two runs, the kind of IWWF style, to me is the most sort of legitimate way of deciding who can put that run down in one go. But then I also love seeing these new formats appear because it allows bigger tricks to be done sometimes, and it allows the sport to expand. And I think as we were talking about trying to create one thing to be the World Championships, I think that what Wake House are doing at the moment, where they kind of have this leaderboard right now, and they're taking into account all the competitions, all of the video parts that people are putting out and awarding certain points. I think that is quite cool to see how that ranking is sort of moving riders up and down. I wish it was around sort of 10 years ago when we were competing all of the time. But to see that coming through now, I think will be quite exciting for the sport.
Yeah. Let's see how it goes, where wakeboarding is going.
Definitely. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah. Where it's going, where it's been, 2024 was apparently your year, your European Rider of the Year, awarded by Cable Mecca. How do you look back at the year? How has it been?
To me, I think 2024 was, again, a whirlwind of a year. Now that we're doing so many of the camps, it feels like there's just so much stuff going on all the time. And to get to the end of the year and still be recognized as one of the standout riders is an amazing feeling. And I think in between everything that's going on, it's quite easy to forget the successes that I've had. And I had a podium at Langenfeld Open. I had a few other results that I was very proud of. And I think, moving into 2025, that's something that I'm holding this strong feeling of getting back into the competition scene even more so. I didn't get the result I wanted at Munich Mash in 2024. So that's one where I'm going to be taking some big tricks again. And, just proving to the wakeboard world that I'm still up there.
About Munich Mash, we encountered each other. I was there.
Yeah.
I just had a quick talk and I watched you ride the event. Just a general impression of Munich Mash that year, or compare it to other years as well. Just tell me what you...
To me, the dream Munich Mash setup will always be the mega ramp. And I think anybody that rode that would agree. But this year it's always fun. They have the big kickers there. They have one of the biggest crowds in wakeboarding all around that sort of lake there. And, it'll never get old riding in front of a crowd like that. And yeah, always pleased to get invited back to that one.
I think energy-wise, from riders and crowd together, it is the pinnacle of the sport.
Definitely.
All the people around, so close together, compact, and that's what 2.0s also can do. They can have the crowd all around there. And then, yeah, that waterfall thingy and then the obstacles in between. I think it's a very special event.
Definitely, sure. Yeah, I would agree with you.
Would it be your favorite event?
I would say favorite event, to me, I think probably one of my favorite events would maybe be Wake Duel, because it's one where I've had quite a few successes in the past, sorry. Lithuania is also, again, this huge just hub of wakeboarding excitement. It's a very new sport there, and they do a great job of having this crowd also all the way around the lake. So to me, I think that one is probably one of my favorites, but Munich Mash would also come very close for sure.
Top 3.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Favorite event? Because you've been voted the best rider, or what's it called, European rider. Yeah. Who is it for you? You can say it's me, but let's talk about someone else.
Standout European rider. I think it's a tough one right now because there's so many people riding well. I'd say it kind of always comes back to the English boys for me. So the likes of, Joe Batuday, Matt Muncy, they're all pushing the sport.
Me, I didn't know Rudy until I went to Munich Mash.
Yeah.
I was impressed by Rudy Talboys.
Yeah, Rudy's also riding amazing. I think he's very fresh in the sport. He kind of started out riding at Liquid Leisure, and I think that just the influence that he saw there, he was riding so many hours a day, and that was a crazy story to watch how he went from this new rider to just being one of the best in the world. So, yeah.
I remember seeing him then the week after in the street jam as well in Rotterdam. Yeah. There also, he was very impressive.
Yeah, Rudy's, he's definitely someone to watch out for now.
You didn't join for the street jam?
No.
What was the reason behind that?
I think Ryan and I had a camp at the same time. I would have loved to have been there to support Matty because it's his event, but we had our camp then, and I like a little bit of winching here and there, but I haven't actually winched an exceptional amount. So it's something that I would like to explore a bit more. And I hope going forward I can be a part of that event.
It's a whole new concept of wakeboarding again, though. The winching thing, line tension's different, tricks are different. I just heard someone say also at the Cloud9 Tower, like back 5, that's complicated at the winch. While a back 5 is such a standard trick at the cable. So,
I think, if you watch someone like Felix or Dom Hernler ride winch, it's crazy to see like how skillful they are. And I think that's really where you see that new level of board control that probably kind of translates more to a sort of a snowboarding style, because you can't rely on the tension and you certainly can't rely on it pulling you upwards.
Yeah.
So it's a whole different style.
That's where you see Felix comes from snowboarding as well. I think Dom actually also.
Both
of them.
Both good on snowboards,
Yeah. What's your favorite trick, or like your most memorable trick of 2024?
I would say I've been working on a few of these like handle pass double flips. So the one that I landed at Munich Mash was like a double roll to blind. I also managed to get the double KGB this year. So I think the only other person, or Trent has landed it on the bi-level at Lake Ronix. Actually also in Australia now, he landed it on the full cable. And then Max van Helvoort was also doing the wrapped version of it. So to get that one unlocked was very exciting. And I've been working on a few others, so I'm excited to get a few more ticked off my trick list in 2025.
I'll tell you mine. I remember the back mope in Langeveld.
Yes.
Like off the kicker, and then like that little thingy still on going down. Like that was to me impressive. I was like, okay, that's a Liam trick.
Yeah, that one was in practice. I think I broke a couple boards trying to get that locked in, but I was doing some rotor reeves over it, and then I think I landed one of the mute mobe, and then I couldn't land it again after that. And then I think I slightly messed up my run when I was riding there, and I came around. I think my boot was undone, so I did my boot up. I just looked up and saw the pipe there, and I was like, well,
Here we go.
I think everyone wants to see it, and I'd like to give it a try. And I just cut in and managed to land it pretty perfect. And I think I was surprised myself when that happened, and I didn't even really know what to do afterwards because I was almost expecting to crash.
Yeah, amazing. That's great. Yeah.
Some of the things the guys are doing right now is nuts. I think even Niels Ritzman just won Trick of the Year in the Mecca Awards because he was doing a half cab roll 270 over the whole pool gap as well at Langenfeld, and again just crazy tricks.
Yeah, Niels Ritzman. He's a German rider also, no?
Yeah, he's crazy.
Yeah, let's go back to Siargao for a bit because it's still the Siargao podcast, but great to be talking about everything in wakeboarding. A few things I have on my list that are already clarified because you came to the Philippines for CWC. Maybe CWC. It is still a pinnacle in the wakeboarding scene, I guess. Yeah. It's been there for so long. You describe it
To me, like as a kid looking at CWC, that was like the place to be. And that would have been probably about 10 years ago now. And I just remember wanting to get out there so bad. And the water's just perfectly blue. You have the big mountain in the background, and it's still got to be one of the most sort of paradise places that you can ride at. It's kind of had a bit of a revamp now that Graham's involved there a bit more, and JB has been out there a fair bit. And they've been creating these rails that kind of haven't really been seen before in wakeboarding. And I think there's still a huge hype around that park, and it's definitely going to have many more years to come like that.
Yeah. I remember visiting for the first time in 2012, I think. And it's the first time also I rode at night. Yeah. That was pretty special to me as well. I was like, okay, this is something else.
Yeah. Anywhere that you can do night riding, again, it just opens up a whole sort of load more hours of riding and practicing.
Exactly. And then there was Republic Wakepark as well, where you can do the same. Have you been to Republic?
I actually never end up going to Republic, but I heard many good things about it.
Yeah. And then there's of course one more big park in the Philippines, it's Clark. Have you visited there?
I've still not been there either, and that's also one that I need to tick off the list and
you have
go
to
see CeeLo and the crew.
Yeah, because actually today is the finals also of their European Australasia competition. So they're throwing big competitions there as well.
Yeah.
So
definitely need to check that out.
Exactly. When was the first time you heard about Siargao? Do you remember?
First time I heard about it was probably maybe a year or two before I came out here for the event last year. So I'd say probably 3 or 4 years ago. We'd been very much sort of in the winters. It would either be like Philippines for a month, then Thailand or Indonesia. And we were quite set on kind of going out to Lombok and just surfing for a few months. But then we ended up sort of visiting here last year, and it was in the mix of a few other countries. And I remember it just being super fun. And then this year I kind of thought, where would be the place to go? And I'd kind of thought about the pros and cons of everywhere. And then this place just popped into my mind, and I realized actually I can do everything I want here. I can hit all these different activities. And so, this was the one that stood out.
I think Siargao is special like that. It's got a lot of available aspects of travel, of tourism, of activities. So
definitely. And I think for me, the thing I like here is that it still feels somewhat in the early days of the island. It's not so overcrowded. It's not sort of 7-Elevens on every corner. It's actually still got that sort of authentic feel to it.
Yeah, that's the limiting input of the island, I would say. There's still a limited flights coming in. There's not many big boats coming in.
Yeah.
Eventually it will change, probably. I mean, there is word out of a new airport and all that. So we have to enjoy it now as we see it, I would say. But then again, it was the same thing 6 years ago or 8 years ago or 20 years ago. We enjoyed it as it was. So it's up for a change at some point.
Definitely.
That's kind of talk of town. But for now, let's enjoy it as we have it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I remember you were here during our live event as well, which was I think it was fun last year. We didn't do it this year again because we didn't feel like we could top what we had last year. It was so great. The weather was great. All the riders here. So, but you were a standout rider then. So any impressions still on that event?
I think when you first arrive here, like, you know, something you see on the videos, you have the 2 concrete down ledges, which in itself is such a statement, and coming and just riding those for the first time was so much fun. And then when we had the event,
sorry to interrupt. Do you know the story of the concrete ledges?
I don't think so.
It's basically Brenton Priestley.
Yeah.
Has been a regular visitor to Siargao, and he had his signature on that. He's like, let's build concrete ledges.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, Brenton, I follow your lead. And he designed it, and then he set the little donkey dick in there as well.
Yeah.
So I have to put that in between. Thanks to Brenton for
definitely. I would say like that donkey dick as well. To me, is I love having that little kick at the end of the rails. It makes it feel so much more legit. Yeah. And I think if you watch Brenton's riding style, it completely makes sense that he would want sort of the concrete ledges. But yeah, definitely going back to the question, I would say that riding here with all of the riders that were out here, we had some double sessions and the crowd was amazing that day. I would say it's definitely one of the highlights in my career. And I think I would love at some point to try and do something similar again out here if the weather's on our side. Yeah. But that setup is unique in the world. And I think, there's lots that can be done on that.
Yeah. We kind of flow what's available. And then this year we had the winch come in, the Rewinch.
Yeah.
Thank you for those guys for sending it to us. And now we've got we've had this practice days in Cloud9 and then an event is coming up as well. So I think that's where the focus was this year. Unfortunately, not with your full riding support, but you might still grab a handle, I don't know, tomorrow.
Definitely. So I think, in the future years as well, it won't be the last time that I'll be riding out here.
Yeah. You surf a lot as well, no?
Yeah.
How do you compare surfing to wakeboarding?
I think surfing to wakeboarding is pretty different, actually. You could consider it to be similar, but like if you saw me wakeboard and then you saw me surf, you definitely wouldn't think that I'm maybe skillful in one and in the other I'm still massively learning. But I enjoy the learning process and I enjoy kind of going back to square one in something. Surfing it's a lot of fun. It's fun being out there with the boys and it's fun doing something that scares the hell out of you again. And when I'm out there and the waves are bigger than what I'm used to, it's always fun to get the adrenaline going. Yeah.
We've got we're 10 really good wakeboarders now on the island. And it's fun to hear the stories once in a while, like they got smashed and humbled. And like, surfing is humbling. It's
so humbling, so humbling. But I think it's so funny to take people that are so good at one thing and throw them into something else and just see them like all over the place.
Yeah. And then I'm reminded of yesterday evening where we were just foiling in the park. Again, something completely different.
Yeah.
And then everybody just goes back to square one or zero. Or,
yeah. It's fun though, hey? It's fun. The older you get to find something new and just throw all your energy into it is really fun. And I quite like finding a new activity and just fully nerding out on it and just learning everything there is to know about it.
Yeah, that uncomfortable situation.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up slowly. I always have final questions. What's your favorite activity on Siargao? Of course, besides wakeboarding and also besides surfing, like another activity besides those two water sports.
I would say now is being in the CrossFit gym, pushing myself to a new level, ending every workout on the verge of wanting to throw up or something is weirdly something that I enjoy now.
Yeah. Awesome. In surfing then, you surfed around a bit. What's your favorite surf spot?
Favorite surf spot, I would say, is probably Rock Island. With the injuries that I've had at the moment, I've not really been surfing to my full potential, but I'm looking forward to next year coming out for a bit longer and surfing a whole lot more.
Did you get to surf last year a bunch?
Yeah, I actually surfed a fair amount last year and we did quite a bit up in the north with, I think you were there for a little bit. And I still think down this way, Rock Island is a really nice wave.
Yeah. Favorite restaurant?
Well, favorite restaurant for me would be Wild. Definitely.
Wild.
We've had a couple nights there. Chef Dre is always cooking up amazing food and that tuna is next level.
Yeah, the tuna night with Chef Dre and then Glenn also being there. And then his cousin, I think, Cesar also.
Yeah, nephew, I think.
Nephew, so like three chefs, like full potential, full blast.
I think Glenn could feel my excitement in the lead up to that as well. And he was cooking up all this crazy stuff. So even that in itself was a pretty special moment. So
exactly. Favorite Filipino word, if you've learned any?
I think the only Filipino word I really know is Salamat, but I'm working on my Filipino language right now. I was actually trying to find what is it they speak out here? It's
you have Siargaoan, which is the island slang or
Yeah.
dialect, and then there's Visaya,
Yeah.
or Visayan or Cebuano, which is
Yeah.
like the second big language in the country.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I think Jules has been giving me a few lessons. He's been learning it pretty.
So you're learning Filipino from the French.
Yeah, yeah. And I think Jules said he learned his English from us, and that's why when he went for his English exam at school, the woman asked him why he was speaking with all this slang and saying sick and things like this.
Oh, that's great. Okay, we'll probably have Jules on the podcast as well. I'll
Yeah.
ask him in the next weeks. Favorite Filipino word, salamat, but so you look up Tabo.
Yeah,
You know
Tabo,
what?
okay. Okay.
What's next for Liam after this?
After this, in the short term, we're going to Cambodia. We have a wakeboard camp with my brother. And then I really feel like this growing motivation for this year ahead. I would want to land some new tricks that I've been working on. I'm very excited to compete again. It feels like last year, my focus was on building the camps and doing a lot of that with my brother. But we have some more people sort of working with us on that side of the things. So this year is going to be about competing again, traveling more, and growing the YouTube again. We want to really push the YouTube channel. We're going to have lots of vlogs, lots of behind the scenes stuff. So yeah, I think if you want wakeboard content, that's going to be the place to be.
What's something that you haven't ticked off the box yet that you're aiming for 2025? Being it an award or a prize or a podium?
For me, I would like to be on that first spot again somewhere. I want to take the win in at least one competition. Munich Mash was also a bit of a letdown on my behalf. 2024, I didn't get the tricks that I wanted to land, so I would like to.
So off your mind, first on Munich Mash, or
first at Munich Mash would be nice.
Yeah.
And then also Plastic Playgrounds. If you win Plastic Playgrounds, that's a big win.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Any advice for future visitors to Siargao?
My advice would be probably stay longer than you think. Stay longer, explore everything. There's more to offer than you actually realize. And what we've done this time is just tried every single place you can eat, tried every little food place, and stay longer, explore more.
It's very common that people make a schedule and they always extend when they're here. And then people choose sometimes Siargao as their last stop and they have to go back to the home country and they're like, shit, I should have stayed longer here or just done a bit of more time.
I think the one thing that always stands out in my mind about Philippines is the people. Like you feel safe here. The culture's amazing. Like they're so welcoming and friendly, and it's something that you don't see quite so often in other parts of the world.
Exactly. Yeah. Last one, any advice for upcoming talented wakeboarders or any upcoming wakeboarder?
My biggest advice would be that, like, I'm no different to what you are starting out. Like, all I am is a kid that pushed his riding, had fun. Like, it never felt like a chore to me. It was always fun. So don't think that you need any sort of special handouts to make it. Just keep riding, keep pushing, post as much as you can on social media, talk to as many people as you can. And I think that if you want to make it your career, if you just keep going on that path, then you can do it.
Yeah.
And just don't give up.
I would add in there, try to figure out why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, post as much on social media. Yeah, but why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Is it to get that validation or is it because you really truly love the sport?
Definitely. I think it's something that we found was like, we were riding so much and we were just enjoying what we were doing. And I think in that moment, we never really knew what our why was. And then you do start posting a bit more and you get to an age where if you do want to turn it into a profession, that almost becomes your why. I have to push. If I want to create a brand, I want to get the exposure that I need to do this professionally, then that is one of the best ways that you can do it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's round it off on that note.
Cool. Thank you for having me, Tom.
Ian, thanks for visiting. And hope to see you every year or in Europe or wherever we can meet.
Definitely. Thank you.
Nice.
Like a 1080 and there it is!
Fix it.
Keep it going, guys! guys, 1080. First time ever in Siargao.